Hi, it's another wonderful Saturday afternoon, and I'm bringing you another special edition of Talk Your Talk. Today's edition is interesting. Like last week, we discussed a story on Dave Buzzy's page. Dave's page continued to have interesting topics, one that I always feel is necessary for us to bring here to discuss. And so we will be discussing another topic from Dave's page. To join in today's discussion is someone who has been yearning to be on this channel, and I have deliberately left her out because, as you know, I need to throw my weight here and there. But today, the spirits touched my heart, so I said, you know what, come over to my show. So, drum rolls. It is none other but Samia Simle Baba Yunus.
Hi, everyone.
I beg, she's just packaging. It's not this calm. She's just, but you will see it very soon. Of course, that's Samia. Samia is joining today's discussion, and of course, Hajar to Baba Dua, a very good friend.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be on Deshini Space.
You're welcome, Hajar.
Thank you so much.
When did you get back?
I came back last week.
Last week.
Yes.
So how is Maria? I see that you are always chilling. You're always in your
I'm not
yachts.
chilling. I'm a
boats.
student.
See that way they chill like this there. We all for be students. You know they
Yeah.
see.
Students somewhere, not in Ghana.
All work and no play make Jackson down, but
We take them like that. And of course, yours truly, my name is Salman Faris Station. Today's discussion is interesting. It's something most of us can relate to. As a matter of fact, it's something majority of people around the world can relate to. It's about corporate politics. In this sense, the kind of, groupings and, activities that are covert in our working space or workspace. Sometimes the relationship bosses have with their subordinates, the relationship subordinates have with each other, and general employee relations, in especially in relation to how we treat ourselves, how we try to the gossips, the usurpations, the backstabbings, and all. A lot of us continue to go through it. And so today we are going to be discussing that. There's an interesting conversation that Dave Bozi had with someone on his page. So I'm going to be reading not the entire story, but just the highlights so that we get the gist, so that we don't spend the entire time reading the story. So the character in this one is called Kimberly. Kimberly goes like this. I have been constantly treated unfairly and essentially intimidated at my workplace by my supervisor and some of my co-workers, to the extent that it is affecting my mental health and stressing me out. Everything I do is wrong in someone's eyes. My supervisor demeans my work standards all the time, yet could present them at meetings as his ideas. He does not give me credit for the works I do. He takes the glory for himself and shuts me out totally when the CEO or investors need briefing on the works I have done. The criticisms of my co-workers are always unfair, and they would not stop spreading false rumors about me. They give me poor reviews on my performance, even though they all know I do solid work for the company. I don't know how to put these things behind me. I am now afraid to even be myself at work. So that's the opening. The other part says that there's this other part that there's an important meeting I am supposed to be attending because it's my proposal that is being considered to be funded. My supervisor and his cheerleaders have managed to leave me out. They expect me to explain into detail the proposal, but my supervisor called me in his office to do a presentation on my project. He is again going to present it as his own. I realize he has taken my name off the work and replaced it with his. This is the fourth time he has done this to me. So basically, this is the crux of the conversation.
Yeah.
Everything about the conversation that Lady Kimberly is having with Dave hovers around this. So the question then is, what do you make of the story? I'll start with Samia. What do you make of Kimberly's situation?
So I think Kimberly is one smart girl who is really doing, she knows like she's smart. She knows she's doing her work. She knows she's really putting in so much effort to the work. But it just looks as if, from what I've made of it, it just looks as if her boss is not really as smart as her.
Mhm.
And her boss, it's also possibly just maybe lazy. Not there are bosses who can be smart, but just lazy to do their work. So they are just taking the glory and not acknowledging like Kimberly's efforts. So for me, I think generally one way or the other, we've all have been through those kind of dynamics where two things is either your boss might be smart, but she's being lazy, or he or she's being lazy. Because we don't know whether the boss is a he or
Or
she. Yeah.
in this
So
instance, it's a he.
it's a he. So
Yeah.
maybe the boss is just being lazy
Mhm.
and just taking Kimberly's efforts and hard work for granted,
Yeah.
and just undermining the work.
What do you make of it, Haja?
After listening to the story, the first thing that came to my mind was, why is it happening to only Kimberly? Because as I'm part of the story, she said her co-workers, so it's her supervisor, it's her boss, and like other co-workers. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I would like her to decipher what it says about Kimberly. Is it that because she's smarter than everyone else? Is it that maybe she is new? Is it that everyone at the workplace is just lazy and they want to like take everything she does for themselves? Yeah.
So you are trying. Are you suggesting that Kimberly perhaps might be contributing to it? Maybe there's
Maybe or maybe not. But the fact that it is happening to only her and it is not happening to other co-workers, that makes it not the boss issue, and it makes it Kimberly's issue. So like it's about Kimberly but not the boss's habit. If it was the boss's habit, it will happen to the others as well.
I think that angle to it too makes a lot of sense. But yeah, if you read deeper to the conversation, it's like Kimberly seemed to be new in that environment. So could it also be that before her coming, the already existing colleagues have already formed a clique, so to speak, and she's now the new entrant, and maybe that dynamics is also playing.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but I sort of don't completely agree here, because even if you are new, the scenario of I'm supposed to be at like a meeting to have a presentation to share my proposal. That scenario bit, it's more like, yeah. So if you are new, why did they entrust that to you? Why are they even giving you that kind of assignment when you know? So, but the other angle to it is, for me, I think I would just conclude with first instance is that they are being lazy, or also there are people that sometimes some bosses have very low self-esteem and they are just trying to they don't want Kimberly to shine, so they're just trying to step on. Another angle, if she's new, it could also be generally like there are some bosses that do not just like you. From first instance, you've not done anything. It's not because you are smart or you're overly smart. It's just because naturally they do not like you. So they will definitely not acknowledge anything you do, and they will just want to take that glory for your hard work. So there are so many dynamics to it.
Okay, so Hajar, I understand you are still a student, but I know you've done some form of, work somewhere and all that. Not necessarily work space, but maybe your interactions. Have you ever been in that situation where, like Samia is saying, somebody just looks at Safida and be like, they don't like you, and know that the way they treat you is just suggesting that they don't like you?
Personally, I've not been in a situation where I think my coworkers or my bosses don't like me. Maybe it happened and I didn't like take it into consideration, because when I'm at the workplace, I'm not looking for people who like me. I'm looking to do what I'm supposed to do. So I just concentrate on the things that matter. Yeah.
So if you were in Kimberly's shoe, I've been hearing to ask this question. If you were in Kimberly's shoes, how would you handle this whole situation?
Well,
You bend the company down.
oh no, I'll not bend it. I'll not bend it. They're going back. Okay, I'll not bend it.
The Gumba girl in
I
you.
mean,
Okay.
So first and foremost, I'm gonna take a step backwards to assess my own self. What am I not doing right? Am I overstepping boundaries, or am I just being overly smart? Or I'm like,
It could be smart, smart,
no, but
overly.
yes, because sometimes I think in office politics, at least for my little experience, I think sometimes you need to act dumb even when you know. Sometimes just to save yourself, and it's not because you're actually dumb. It's just because
You want
when you
other
feel,
people to
just
feel
let other
comfortable.
people feel like you know, they have the shine, but you know, like you know the boss, like you know that kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, like if I was Kimberly, I would take a step backwards, reassess myself. Am I overstepping, or am I overly doing the work? You know, we've all been in spaces where like you are overworking, you know, and you know like you're overworking. Yeah. And so I mean, if I would take a step backwards to reassess all those, that's the first point. The second thing is probably find an avenue to have conversations with my boss, because she said this is the fourth time it's happening. I feel people are deliberate about things they do. Like of course, if you're working with adults, you know, they know office politics. People don't come after you as it's deliberate, but sometimes when it gets over, it means that they know, they actually know.
In Kimberly's case, actually, she has attempted that conversation. I think she complained, and then she was told she should just like they just
They
brush
rubbished
it. They
it.
just
Yeah.
rubbished it.
So
Brush it
yeah,
off.
so first option is assess your own self. If you feel like you don't really have any fault, then you have like the conversation. If the conversation is not going well, then you take a step backward, slow down and see how they are going to react. Because if you are really putting in so much effort, maybe you just have to slow down the work and see how they are going to react. If you are not getting the results, then you can find like another alternative too.
Okay. How would you respond?
You see, from the story, it's not like they don't like what she's doing. They like what she's doing, just that they're taking advantage of it.
And taking
So
credit for it.
exactly. So what she's doing is not the issue here, I think. I think what she's doing is perfectly right. Is and they think it's also right, but they're just trying to steal her shine and all that. So personally, if I'm in her position, the first and foremost, I'll just tell myself that life is not always roses. And she has tried to communicate to her boss, and her boss is giving her deaf ears. So you always have an option. What I'm gonna do is, first of all, I'll just try to be patient, like, and be in the job. Then while in the job, I'll try to look for other alternatives, because clearly from the story, we can see that Kimberly is bright and she has a lot of potentials, and there are a lot of other things she can do for herself. So I think she should just be in the job and be patient, but she can also source for other opportunities.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I don't agree. Like I don't agree. I don't agree with like finding an alternative because you feel like the environment is toxic or you feel like people are sabotaging. You're going to find that anywhere in any working environment. It might not come the same way, but it comes in different forms, because I mean it's work colleagues. Everybody's not supposed to like you. Your work colleagues are not your friends. I've always said that they are not your friends. So me, after work, that's all. Like we are not friends. So I'm not going to extend any like that kind of expectations, right? So and I'll not look for a job because this office is toxic. What you don't know what you're going to
Meet.
again. Yeah. So I will not leave. I'm going to find alternative. We go all survive in that job. Oh. We will survive. Instead you will leave as my boss. Me, I'm not leaving. So we will find a way. So we all come to an agreement that like at this point, you need to my credit, like what I deserve.
Now wait, now guess what? So apparently, according to the story, they are supposed to do a presentation. Kimberly has worked on the document. The boss has taken Kimberly's name off the document. The producer of the document replaced it with his. But has even called Kimberly into the office to do a presentation on the project, on the document, such that he goes to do the same, replicate the presentation at the bigger meeting, in front of the partners and all, as though it is his. So let's say you are Kimberly, and then you are called. I'll come back to you. Because you are starting to boil. I want you to calm down. If you were Kimberly and your boss invited you to do such presentation, you know very well he's replaced you and blah blah blah. What would you do?
That wouldn't sit with my heart. I can't do the presentation.
So how would you handle it? You say, boss, you know what? Go fuck yourself.
Because you see, first of all, this whole story is what's it called, corporate crime, because she's been abused. And at some point, she needs to, even after she has tried to communicate and they're not giving her a listening ear, she needs to let them know that at this point, what you are doing is wrong, and there are avenues where I can reach out to, and you are going to be punished or penalized for that. So I feel like at this point, she should just push a little. Let's see how things goes, and just say like, today I'm not doing the presentation. I've been going through all these, and it's not just worth it. I'm not doing it.
Could that also be insubordination, given that your boss has asked you to do something and you are saying you won't do?
Already, my boss is not acting like my boss.
Maybe he's just not towing the line you want. If he says that's his style.
Okay, so
but that's not the idol.
Yeah, he should communicate his bossing style and like being bossy. Being a boss is not about being bossy. It's just about working with your co-workers. So there's nothing like it's my style and you sabotage your workers.
Sammy, calm down.
All right, Elder, I'm really
If you
calm.
were- if you were Kimberly, your boss invites you to make such presentation, would you make?
I think it will surprise you about how I behave like
Mm,
professionally.
mm,
So I think everybody has that component.
Yeah.
I mean, professionally, I am not the Samiha
Mm.
because I know, like in so many instances, I've been through similar things with Kimberly.
Yeah.
Like so, in my case, it wasn't like a presentation. In my case, it was something I have done,
Mm.
and then they have said it in program meeting, and I wasn't given any
Credit.
acknowledgement or credit, and I felt really bad because this is like like I did this whole project from scratch to the end, and nobody really acknowledged like you.
I remember the story
Yeah.
of you sometime.
Yeah.
You wrote this article and it was supposed to be yours, but the
Exactly. I
article
mean,
was
it went
given to someone else.
exactly, and that really really hurts because this is like a whole effort you put into not sleeping and coming out with something, and then like somebody just takes it and like run with it. I mean, if in Kimberly's situation, I would do the presentation to my boss, mark it down. Like every single evidence that you do, it's like something when you're about to make a case for yourself, you have evidence. You don't make cases in abstract.
Yeah.
You make cases with evidence. So I mean, she said it was the fourth time, but we don't know the other times,
Yeah.
but adding this to the fourth time. So when you are making
Solid.
reference, it makes it very solid. Even when you asked me to do this presentation, which I did, I was boiling inside because I'm human now. I had blood running through my head, but I still did.
Yeah.
And then you still went ahead, took my name off, and went to take the shine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's anybody, people and how they react. But me, like professionally, I would do it because like
Okay.
but I know it won't sit well with my hands. But I also do it.
Another one is there's this component of the colleagues also treating her that way. If it is boss subordinate relationship, we can say the boss is being bossy. Now, when your colleagues are supposed to know better, empathize with you, and yet they are also engaged in this cruelty,
Yeah.
how would you react to that, Haja?
First of all, I'm going to think it's the culture of their workplace because why is everyone treating me badly? And I also feel like is Kimberly not telling us something? Because if you get into a workplace and everyone is treating you the same way, it means they are reacting to the same thing. Maybe there's just something you need to change, or like there should be someone you'll be able to talk to. Maybe I'll just look around the workplace. If there's one person I think is much better than everyone else that I can talk to, I'll just talk to them and they should make me understand how things work in this place because you always need to adjust to workplaces. Like you need to ask and learn and learn.
Samian.
Yeah. So like I just said, already I said that you need to take a step backwards and then like ask yourself question. But I don't know if she meant her teammates or everybody in the workplace.
No, the
because-
teammates.
Yeah, so
Mm.
that means that was like her
Yeah,
immediate teammate.
teammates.
So if it's the immediate teammate, it's possible the boss is it's office politics.
Yeah.
The boss is just influencing the others to behave in that particular way. Your colleagues, you can always find a balance, especially if I don't report directly to you. I'm just gonna treat you like you don't even exist. Like I would because I don't directly report to you, right?
Yeah.
So if it is not something that has to do with work,
You like this?
yeah, you don't exist. And I feel like for me, maybe it's just the typical nodding girl in me. You can't bully me. No, you can't bully me. I don't know Kimberly's personality,
Yeah.
but I have a very intimidating personality, which I'm very unapologetic about. And I know I have a very strong personality, which I'm very, very unapologetic about. So you can't bully me unless I decide and allow you to bully me. Especially my colleague, like my teammates.
For the way.
For the way.
No, but
That's
for
nice
me,
too.
but for me, honestly, I think I may toe the line of Samiha because there's this thing about disrespect, rudeness. I have zero tolerance.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I explode. So if I were Kimberly, even though I might say that okay, I'm leaving that job, which you will not leave. Even if I am leaving that, before I leave, I'll make sure I go out with guns blazing. I'll make sure I write a well-detailed email
When you
detailing
think
every single situation
Yeah.
I have been treated that way. And I'm making sure I am copying the CEO to the security guy if the security guy is on the
That's
emailing
wild.
list. Because you see, sometimes meekness, humility doesn't get problems solved.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you don't do like you, they can't die. Person no will give you that.
Yeah.
Violent.
Yeah.
If you don't let people
Yeah.
know that it's not one woman that gives birth to a troublesome child, people will understand. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because you see, some things are just nonsensical.
Yeah.
You cannot, even especially colleagues, we should
Be the ones like you should be the shoulder that when our boss is like just
Being a-
showing us shade.
Yeah.
I come to you and I can cry on, or I come to you and I can I can just say, yo man, like Charlie, yo man, I understand. The report, they check cry. Like you should be the one I will come to you. You're like, oh Charlie, make you do it this way. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But not you, my colleague, like just
Being a
citing
yes
with my
man,
boss.
yeah.
I will show you shade. I can't show my boss shade, but you, my colleague, I will show you shade. I will show you shade double. No, I will show you shade double. That one I will. Because I mean, not you can sometimes, I think bosses also forget that the world doesn't revolve just around the
them,
work.
yeah.
Like there's a huge a huge like world after the work setting, right?
Yeah,
And
there's life
there's life after work. And bosses also tend to forget that you're not going to sit in that job for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And even the person you are sort of maltreating
Or intimidating.
or intimidating, it's not going to be in that job for the rest of their lives. So you never even know where you meet me again.
Yeah.
But people tend to forget that, yes, we might not be friends at work, but we can be friends after work,
Yeah.
which is like what people do, especially bosses, like they don't always think about. And I think there's the components of leadership and boss. I don't know if you actually related to leadership and boss, like being a boss and having that, because there are people who are bosses, but they are not leaders. So maybe that's also that's dynamic.
Hajar, I don't know if I've had this question, but have you been in a situation with a boss or even a work colleague that you feel that at that particular moment or that particular setting was quite toxic or unfavorable to your person? Maybe not the working setting, but maybe in terms of school or something. Maybe in secondary school, you and your seniors.
This one is like a full episode on it, or the secondary school experience. Yeah, of course, these things happen, especially when you are coming from a northern secondary school. Yeah, this is always happening. They try to bully you, and they try to make you feel like your world evolves around them. Like they want you to do what they say, not what you think for yourself. Yeah. So for secondary school, this is happening. But when it comes to work experience, I've not really, maybe I don't just pay attention then. And I'm just thinking about it right now. Like I should start paying attention to these kind of things. Maybe it has happened and I did not even notice it. Yeah, but I've been cool, just doing what I'm supposed to do. And
Okay. Maybe you have been lucky to be around very positive people. Samia, do you think bosses know the difference between leadership and bosses?
I think some bosses do. Some bosses who so for my experiences, I think I've had like some quite very amazing bosses who I know, like they really know they are good bosses. I was telling somebody 2 days ago that I'm a very lovely person and I have a very nice personality. So if you have an issue with me, then you have a problem. Then you are the problem. Because especially if in a very professional setting, if you have an issue with me, I obviously know you have a problem. I've had very amazing bosses, and I think those bosses were people who till now are people that I can call as big sisters, I can call as big brothers or uncles or fathers, like that, they still stand as father figure to me. I think it's just depend on who that person is. Sometimes, like I said, in Kimberly's situation, it could be just the person, the boss being very lazy, or the boss do not really know what they're about, but they are just leading you. So sometimes it's just giving them grace or sort of understanding where they stand, because he or she is trying to figure out their fit and also trying to manage you as well. And it comes with a personal conflict or something. So sometimes they just don't know their balance, and then they tend to pour those anger or those frustrations on you and leading you. The other angle to having like very amazing bosses are bosses who actually will get you to even do the work without, they get you to work over And you yourself, you know that this woman, she has used me, but you are happy even doing it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I have had a boss who has, even when she calls me at 10,
No, I think it's fair.
10 or 12
You
a.m.
mentioned
I
their
would,
names.
yeah.
They
I mean,
deserve-
so
they deserve to be mentioned.
I know. So I think in one of my years of experience in one of the internships I was doing, Ajarabi, who has become like a very
Yeah,
like
very.
good sister and good friend. It's, I mean, she doesn't know this. I don't know if she watched this, but she doesn't know this. But she doesn't know why I grew so close and attached to her. It's because I felt she was my boss, but she never made me felt like I was your boss. She always made me felt like in the office, like we are, to understand that when she's introducing me, she tell people that this is my colleague or this is my colleague at the office. She would never say this is like my, you know,
She works
she,
under
you know, no, she works under me. No, she would never say that. And she did a lot of things whilst, because that was like the early stages of my experience in working. I was just an intern.
Yeah.
There were so many things she was doing that she didn't even know I was learning from. The way she speaks to me, you know, even when it's lunchtime, she would ask you like, let's go for lunch and all that. And for me, the outside work are when you actually get to understand who you are working with. And she would, when she asks you to do something, she will ask you if you can do it.
Yeah.
And if you can't, she'll show you, okay, this is how we do it. This is, you know, I remember one report I wrote to her and then she showed me how to edit it. So another person I think has been very amazing has been Dorcas. Dorcas works with Global Platform and Action Aid. I also work directly with her. She was like my immediate line manager. And you will send a report. I know now I look back to those reports that I used to write then and now, and I feel like I was just writing rubbish because like now I've grown in the career and I'm like, how on earth was this woman taking this thing and then just trying to make me understand that, you know, there are certain errors you make and they are not. And one of the profound things she ever said to me was that, you see this development space, people will not watch out for you unless you are lucky. But you need to watch out for yourself. And she said, you need to know your shit so much that when they flip the table anyhow, it will still be you. And I felt that till now, like I felt that was very profound till now. Because that means it's knowledge and what you know. To understand that if you know what you're about and you understand what you're doing, when you get to any environment, you're not going to be afraid. If they fire you, you're always gonna get the job the next day. You know, so you are going to be very firm with whatever because you know you are not indirectly intimidating people. It's just people that are feeling scared about or feeling intimidated about
politics.
and so it's about them, not you, you know. So yeah, I've had amazing bosses. I've also had toxic bosses. I mean, the toxic bosses, I'm not gonna mention their names. Yeah, I really had some quite toxic bosses along the line.
I'll count to that. Have you had in your, experiences, internships and all that? Have you had any amazing bosses that?
Okay, so I've worked with quite a number of organizations, but the ones I'll just like to mention is the Empowered Female Foundation, and the founder was Adamu Alasan, and also NOSAG, and my boss was Bless Lanana. I know this.
Oh yeah, bless her.
Yeah, so when I was working under Adamu Alasan, it was nice. We were cool and like it wasn't work. So even at some point, like when I finished working with her, I just sat down and reflected and I was like, I never saw this as work. And that was how I realized that that's where I drive my purpose from. That's where I realized that I can actually give my all to, because we didn't really have like compensation like that. We're just doing the work and fending for ourselves and trying our best. That's when I realized that I could really go into the development space and like that's my passion. And also when I was working under Sister Bless, like, oh my God, I loved her so much. She used to put me on opportunities. Even like Sister Adam, she used to put me on opportunities. I don't know if this is my grace, but when I'm working with people, they put me on opportunities. Like Sister Adam, when we're working, anywhere she's going with me. And that's how I got to connect to other organizations. And even my boss, Sister Blessla, she used to put me on a lot of opportunities. She used to send me to a lot of places. Even there was particular programs that she was supposed to go. She just let me go and represent her. And of course, it has opened a lot of opportunities for me. Even till this, like the day I left NOSAG, I can say like every single day it has impacted my life. Like every day, like there's just this connection from when I was working with them and like It just connects to something and it gives me something on it, or it puts me on another opportunity. I literally met Sister Sami her like freely when we're having a NOSA program, even though I followed her already on socials, but I met her physically and we talked a lot. I was like delivering a letter from our organization to their place and I saw her. And it was like we were already talking. It was like we knew each other already. The conversation was flowing. Yeah. And that's where I got close to her. And now she's my new boss.
My new boss.
So me, Charlie, so you are not. So who is? I should be somebody's boss. I should be somebody's boss. No, but I think that's very profound. What people really don't know is, like kids, like when you are nurturing children, they take after you.
Yeah.
There are things you do and you do not do, they take after you, and they literally become who you are. And so it translates in working environment. When we are working with people, they take things from you.
Yeah.
Certain soft skills, even certain principles they take from you. And some bosses don't know that we subordinates, for examples, are their children.
Yeah.
And how they nurture us translates into who they are. If we come out very toxic, it speaks volumes of who we've worked with.
Yeah.
If we also come out very open and accommodating, it also the credit goes to them. And I've been very fortunate, one of them have even become my godfather, Mohammed Sani Abdullahi, Dr. Mohammed Sani Abdullahi of the president of Lakeside University. I met in Hajj board. And, he's become a father figure in my life because the man is extremely humble. He teaches you things effortlessly.
Yeah.
He encourages you. He's the kind of man who would take you out. The first time I actually went on more like an informal, hangout with my boss was him. Once I closed from work around 9 and we're going, he asked me, Faris, do you want to have a good night's sleep? I said, yes, okay. Let's go have this smoothie. We went and had this smoothie around Bliss, where Bliss is.
Yeah.
That was in 2017. Yeah. I don't remember was in the ingredients, but it was this forgotten it. But the fact that he thought about out of the workspace, taking me to a place to buy me smoothie.
Yeah.
Along the line, we drove there and had informal conversations, and I got to ask him questions about his private life, his family, his children. He didn't know, but that night impacted me a lot. And ever since then, I've been full of, praises to him and his family. That space aside, there are other people I've also met, same on the same board, other people I've met, and they've all treated you well. They've all let you feel at home. They've all let you know that we can have a relationship after work. What people don't know is that you can indeed have a relationship after work. Because much as it's a space for us to hustle and make money, we spend literally half of our days there.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, people at the workspace may know you more than your family can.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's only important that we build very robust relations with them. Very humbling, very interesting, good relations with them.
Yeah.
Because for all you know, one day your life will depend on them.
Yeah.
And maybe your next contract depends on them.
Yeah.
But people don't
know. Yeah.
And people think that it's
about
them.
making it
And tomorrow is going to be them.
Yeah.
Tomorrow next is going to be them. Please. God is not an unbiased person or a biased person. God is not biased. God is not in your house. Do you understand? God favors everybody. Do you get? Now let's talk about the toxic bosses. Toxic bosses.
So just before we talk about toxic bosses, I think it's also very important to talk about toxic colleagues as well. Sometimes it's not the kind of boss, it's not the boss, it's just the colleagues, or teammates who are just tricking, in these scenarios, I can't mention names, but I've been in very environments that were very toxic. I will not leave. Me, Ogini, I will not leave. On that project, I remember I was working on that project with you. You can't mention names, but so it was very toxic. It was weird. So there was this particular project we're working on together. Our boss was very
toxic.
Like very, very toxic. She's got a frown on her face. she's gonna come with like very authoritative kind of words. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, like, you think we want to do this for the rest of our lives?
Yeah.
Like, no, like nobody wants to be on a project for. I mean, we haven't even been in any organization for more than 4 years or 3 years. Like the least we'll do is 3-4 years,
Yeah.
and then we are out of
We're
the
out
place.
of the space.
So I like, I'm not gonna sit in one project for 5 years. I mean, the most important thing is like making sure that I given my all to that project, and then when I look back, I'm like, I contributed to making this thing beautiful.
Yeah.
And which is what everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
So for me, we've been on a project where somebody was really toxic, and it wasn't nice. I mean, but the good thing is that what the person didn't know that she was doing to us was, it was something that was really growing us and making us have that pain to do something else. So yeah, I appreciated that growth pain, because I remember there was times I would be going home and I would just be crying in the car, and I'm like, God, like, let me find something better and just live here. So sometimes when you are quick to just wanting to run away from a toxic environment, you are being a coward,
Yeah.
which I learned the very hard way. And I feel like I can be anywhere. Just recently I was in another toxic environment. One of the things that I'm doing is just allowing myself learn through patience in that pain. That's somebody that I know that on an ordinary day you can't even speak to me. I mean, not to brag or something, but on an ordinary day, you and I won't be on
on
the
the same
level.
platform,
But here we are in the same space to work, and I just allow myself for you to step on me, or I turn myself into a doormat for you to just speak anyhow to me or talk to me anyhow. Sometimes it's very sickening.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just feel like you want to just leave the place.
Yeah.
But it's also teaches you patience. It teaches you, like, learning to shut.
Yeah, you learn.
Especially with the kind of personalities that we have, like, you learning to just keep quiet, learning to just go through that stuff. But then what it also like teaches you again is, it makes you ask yourself questions that when the tables turn, will you be that kind of person?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's always good to send love out and not retaliate back in that toxic environment, because people can there are so many layers to the toxic environment we are talking about. Sometimes, like I said, it's not the boss, it's your colleagues.
Your colleague.
Or sometimes your boss is not directly saying anything. They are not sabotaging your work, but they have very condescending way of speaking to you. Yeah, or some passive aggressiveness.
Yeah.
They are not saying, so you can't pinpoint, you can't even report to another person because the person hasn't directly said you are a stupid girl.
Yeah.
But the person is actually making you feel like you are stupid, So in those environments, I think what it just does to me is it allowed me learn and all that. The first project. The second one was one of the Julius, one of the experience was in one of one-time program that I joined, that I mean, I had another weird boss who was constantly just making the space like unbearable. And sometimes you are seeing here, your heart is just beating.
Why should I?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
So why should I see you and be scared?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Because if the environment is now that of, it's now scary, then it's no longer a space I want to belong to.
Yeah. So,
But if I decide to belong to that space, it means that I'm making myself scary to you as well.
Yeah.
And then it becomes toxic for everybody.
Yeah.
And instead of us concentrating on being productive, we are concentrating on being
toxic. But I also feel like conflict is necessary.
Would I say
Toxicity is not
toxicity
conflict.
is not conflict?
No, but it's toxicity that leads to conflict sometimes.
Yes.
Because sometimes, like you said, you just need to act as if you want to die and get yourself.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes there won't be a need for conflict until there's that toxic environment. I have saved myself in a situation with violence. And that was the only way I got myself out of it, because I think my boss was just like, she was just being too toxic. She will make issues out of you coming to work. Like you are 5 minutes late to work and she makes issues out of it. You want to go somewhere and she makes issues out of it. You've sent the work on time, but probably you want to leave early today and she makes an issue out of it.
But when you are done with the daily tasks,
she doesn't even, when you are done with the daily tasks or when you overstay at work, she doesn't acknowledge that.
But when you are 5 minutes late. So today, if I stay over for maybe an hour or two, there's no recognition.
Yeah.
But if I am 5 minutes late,
she'll make an issue out of it while I don't come. So I mean, one day I just had to fight I just had to like, let me borrow your word, act as if I was going to die that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was what
Yeah.
saved me.
Yeah.
You know, I just acted like I was drunk, and I'm like, yo, you can't be treating me. I'm not
No.
a kid. You can't be treating me like this,
No.
and you can't keep saying AB. And the way she talks to you in a very condescending way, I'm
Yeah.
ordering you and all that. You
Yeah.
can't keep saying those things to me. Like, you know. So one day, I have to act like I acted like I was going to die that day. And that was when I got myself.
yours.
And then the whole thing.
I
solved.
remember this experience with my mom's experience with her colleague. And you see, the thing about this thing is, it doesn't have age limit. Though.
Oh no.
Because my mom is probably 56 or 57, and she had this experience like as
In your
early as-
40s.
No, as early as 2 years ago.
Okay.
So she was probably 54, 55.
Yeah.
And then her work colleague is being toxic for no reason, for no apparent reason. So one time I was when she called me, man, come here and see something. There's this woman here who wants to fight me, but until I want to show her that we can all fight. So do you know what saved her? My mom literally came out, removed, she's a midwife, removed her
Scrap.
every scrubs and everything,
Yeah.
and said, come out, let's fight. That is what saved the situation.
Yeah.
Like she just went
Actually.
haywire. Like
Yeah.
she came out and said, came to the compound and said, oh yeah, come out, let's fight.
Yeah.
And that is, and I'm seeing the question then is, must it get to that situation?
No, but people don't know that they don't have to be. And you know one thing,
Mm.
when it's about getting to that situation and you are acting like you're about to die, they make you the victim.
Yes,
Exactly.
But
not
they
the
forget
problem.
that
True.
they dragged you, they
Yeah.
triggered you all along to
Yeah,
that stage.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you are made the perpetrator and they are now victim.
Yeah.
By the underground snakes, they
Yeah.
just cook everything underground.
Yeah.
You will be boiling.
Yeah.
So when you show it, is the problem.
Another thing was with my twin sister at her workplace, and she's a nurse, and this one was even about, in fact, but for her ability to stand up for herself, she would have been sacked from her job. So we brought in a patient then before arrival, and she went through the protocols that she's supposed to go through. As a matter of fact, she demanded oxygen and blah blah blah, and the person in charge of that said they didn't have oxygen or something and all. So she had done what she was supposed to do, but in fact, the patient came in dead on arrival, so she recorded everything and went. So the following day, according to her, she was there and she was invited, and before she left, she had called her in charge to report and all that. The following day, she was there. It was called for deaf what committee meeting, and it's more like they need to find out why. Apparently, the in charge had declared the person dead on her hands and not on arrival. And she's like, the person cannot be dead on
Yeah.
exactly. Then they were asking her, did you call the what's the name, oxygen office asking for it? She said yes, and she lucky. Do you know what saved her? So the woman even said that my sister hadn't called her to report the issue at the community. That's what said. Luckily now, I just brought out her
True.
logs, showed the name, the call log, showed the name,
And the time.
and the number of minutes they spoke for. That is what
Sometimes the way
saved
these
her.
call logs will
They'll
save you.
But guess what? The in charge now came out at their department level and now called her and told her that her behavior was insubordination. That when your superiors are talking, you don't talk.
Yeah, because you know, do you get it?
Yes.
Because I think that's why I said a lot of bosses just feel they can bully you because they feel like I'm the boss and you're not supposed to talk.
Me. Hey, this is my mom. I will talk.
Which shouldn't be at all. Which
Yeah.
shouldn't be. You can, like I said, like those amazing bosses that I had got me to doing stuff that I know now. If I have a boss who is being bossy, ask me to do, I'll deliberately say I don't know how to do it. And it's not because I don't know, or I'll deliberately will not just do it, but I'll just actually know. I will just, but not because it will be from your attitude.
Yeah.
But people also forget that your teammates who probably understand what they are doing will go any length to make sure the work is done.
Yeah.
So she had called you, told you that they wanted to put the person on oxygen, even when she knew, like she knew very well that the patient was dead already. And yet still, you come back telling it on her. So assuming she didn't even know what she was about. And she panicked and said, oh, the patient is dead already, and probably announced it. That would have been on her. And probably they would have just taken her license as a nurse.
And assuming she wasn't able to prove that indeed she called.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know
So
what?
documentation is very important in everything that we do.
So the boss was not even concerned that she lied on the committee. Her issue was that my sister, defended herself, and that is insubordination. Their code is that you don't talk when your bosses are talking.
Where did that
Damn.
code come from?
Damn that. I
Man,
will
but
talk.
this line just came to my mind. And back to Kim's story,
Mm.
where they were going to make the presentation and the teammates are just agreeing to follow. When your teammates know that this is your work,
Your work.
I'm just thinking, like it just came to my mind that what are the teammates thinking of Kim? Because man, your work is your work. Like
Yeah.
you and I have been friends for a very long time,
Yeah.
but we know, like if this is this is something I can do or
Yeah.
something I cannot
Yeah.
do. So I don't think you would take glory for
No.
something that I have done.
No.
And not let's put friendship aside. If we're
Mm.
working together, you would, and being as kind as you are, you would just, even when somebody has done something, your boss wants you to be the one leading it. Say Hajara is your colleague at work, and you made a presentation and everything, and your boss wants Hajari to lead it. Unless, of course, you are sick.
Yeah.
Or unless, of course, there's something that is coming up that you cannot do that presentation. Hajari shouldn't feel comfortable to handle the presentation in terms of sabotaging you.
No, that's not right.
So it just came to my mind about Kim's scenario.
No, that's not right. So and that explains the behavior of Kim's colleagues.
Yeah.
Because they also are fully aware of what's happening and they are contributing to it, which is very right.
And are they getting credits from their boss for supporting him and being yes man to him for everything he says and everything he commands?
Maybe they are.
Yeah.
Yes, because
Yeah,
if
ask
that makes
kisses.
sense. The fact that it's happening to one co-worker means it can equally happen to you. So as you just said, you shouldn't be contributing to
But as
this.
humans as we are, we don't learn. As long as it's on someone else, you feel like
Yeah. Like there are also ask kisses at work.
Yeah.
You know, I think we didn't touch on that.
Yeah, ask cases,
Yeah.
ask cases, and it happens all the time. And in fact, and it's so annoying. You see people just like they'll go and lie on you. They'll go and say things you didn't say.
Yeah.
They'll do certain things, and when they are being asked, they'll say you did so and so. And but for me, what I've always been is I've always been a strict abider to the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, and really said in his last sermon that do not oppress and do not be oppressed. Me, I know oppress you, but if you try,
Oppress me as
try
well.
we go show up.
Shady.
We go show shake.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, and back to people not being like you not allowing yourself to be oppressed.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs that power, everybody needs that strength, and it comes from back again to the things we know, our skills, our knowledge, and understanding that I will not let you take me for granted for just a paycheck.
No.
I mean, I am not too hungry. Like, also, people are always considering, if I resign, like, where will I get a job again? And all that. If I resign my job today, I'm going to get
Taking
a job tomorrow.
advantage of it.
Yeah, and people taking advantage of the economy. Yeah.
And I think, like you said, people are just too scared. I mean, for me, I keep saying that if I'm no longer finding peace anywhere, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I'm out. And there's this adage in Dagban keeps saying that if God breaks your leg, He show you how
to walk.
Exactly. So, I mean, always be daring and stuff. And maybe I wanted us to talk about how sometimes this even translates to national service person. You can't be in as a national service person, and the only thing you are suited for is errands.
Yeah.
If not photocopy,
Watch it.
go and buy wachi. Some even send them to the market to do grocery shopping for them.
And I never had that experience.
Oh, I remember this experience. My receptionist then when I was doing national service, one time I came and was like, "Hey, Faris, come around." I did, and was like, "Can you kindly go and deposit this money into my account?" The bombastic side.
Offensive
No, the one I gave her.
Of all the people.
No, of all the people, me. I said me. So I just looked at her in a way that she knew she had erred. Then the next thing she said, "Oh, you see, I'm the only one in the reception, and if DG comes out and I'm not here, it'll be problematic. And I really need to make this transaction right now. Blah 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 blah." So I just looked at her and I told her, "I'm gonna be very emphatic. My job here is not to run your errands. So I am doing this because of the reason you've given. But let this be your very first and last. You
Beautiful.
would ask me to do
I
this.
love this.
So I went ahead and
It's
I
a
did it
courage for me.
her, but I still told her that let this be the first and your last. I'm never gonna run this errand for you. And don't even dare.
I mean, we were fortunate when I was doing national service. My line manager became my very good friend, and we'll go home together and all that. So, but she used to she was exposing me as well, like to work and different things. She was exposing me to work and like different things. So, I mean, I think I was really lucky, like during national service, because my line manager was really, really she was really amazing, and our boss, our senior boss, was also really cool. So the only time I think we went markets and grocery shopping was when we had end of year party, and they said they were going to allow the service people, because we're the youngest people in the office, to organize the party. So that was the only time we went for.
But you see, you can even do the
Yeah.
grocery shopping out of goodwill. Like when
Yeah.
you develop some
Really
same national service. That's my direct boss, my then was every morning we took breakfast together. She
Yeah.
would make sure that we had breakfast together. So it was only fair that I say, you know what, go and buy the bread and
Yeah.
I buy come and make
Makes
the
sense.
breakfast and then we eat. But she would never aside that take. And I think these are the people we continue to keep and remember as friends, and we wish them well. Okay, so that has been now I need to take one last thing from you. So if you ever find yourself in that situation of Kimberly, having this conversation, knowing what you know now and having experienced certain things, how are you going to handle it?
So after listening to this story and hearing your thoughts, I feel like even before you get into the workplace, you should make up your mind that you should get ready for these kind of things because they probably are going to happen. And like when you get into situations like this, first of all, I think because for me, when I started working at NOSAC, my boss called me and she said wanted to have an interview, but she even told me that it shouldn't be formal. It's just a way of getting to know ourselves and even sometimes the first conversation you have with someone tells you how you could live with that person. And I think I'm good at knowing the type of people people are when I have my first conversations with them. And if you see that things are not going well, just try to ask, why did you get mad at me at this? Why is this happening and all that? But at the same time, you still need to draw your lines. You still need to let them know these are the things I cannot do because it's not part of the job description. And you just need to let them know what you will do and what you will not do. And my final word to the bosses is that life is not an island and the world does not revolve around you. You're going to go other places, you're going to meet new people, and you don't know when the dice is going to turn and you be on one and someone will be on six. So just be humble, just try to work with people and try not to be a boss but a leader.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Samira.
So I'll just pick it up from where she stopped by trying not to be a boss but a leader, which is the most important part. For me, I think I also spoke about the angle of not just bosses being toxic, but even colleagues at work.
Yeah.
I think people should know that the workspace is not going to be a space for somebody for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
We've never heard that somebody has worked 50 years in their entire life at one particular place and died. No. People will revolve. Yes, we've heard about people working for 30 years, 20 years at one particular place and then they probably retire. But nobody, I don't think, especially in our generation, I don't think anybody wants to stay at a place for forever. Yeah. So you should always know that the world is a very huge place for us and the world belongs to everybody. The universe is huge.
Yeah.
So you just never know, you just never know. So just be nice. I mean, it doesn't take anything to be nice.
Yeah.
But to everybody, don't allow yourself to be abused. Because for me, I will not leave a job because you are abusing me or because you are being toxic. We will be toxic to each other. I will not. So for me, I think my advice to anybody who is under a toxic boss or colleagues, Oga, madam, don't resign. Or Mr. Man, you don't have to resign. If you don't show each other. If you don't allow yourself go through the growth pain, then you can't survive it anywhere because nowhere cool. That's the truth. Anywhere it's not cool. But one thing I know for sure is that you should always take a step backwards to reflect on your own self, so that at any point in time when you are given an opportunity to explain the situation, you are not going to be the victim. So always take a step backwards as an individual and ask, what am I not doing right?
Yeah.
Am I doing everything that I'm supposed to do? Am I doing my job well? Am I behaving in the way that I'm supposed to behave, that I'm not overstepping people's boundaries? And then also just respect yourself.
Yeah, I think on that, respect yourself. No, that is very profound. So to anybody who is a toxic colleague or toxic boss, know that you are being a toxic person and it's not cool. You have to stop it. Life is not all about you. The environment is not about you. Other people have feelings and
Yeah.
are feeling it. And to those who are being under toxic people or having toxic colleagues, if you don't learn to stand up for yourself, nobody's going to stand up for you. So sometimes you need to teach people that it is not one woman that gives birth to a stubborn child. On that note, thank you so much, Samia. So Samia Yunus is a development practitioner. She's passionate about KIA and she's currently leading an organization called ILMIHA, right?
Yeah.
So ILMIHA is trying all it can to consolidate KIA activities in Ghana. And of course, Hajara is a student of what?
African Leadership College.
African Leadership Career in Mauritius. And me, yours truly, Salman Faris Ayuba, your moderator of Destiny Space. See you same time next week. Until then,
Bye.